I'm just entering the studio again.
Yes. Have you currently switched the session?
Yeah. I have already done that.
All right.
Yeah. So we are live streaming on YouTube now. Please check.
Yes. It is live.
Perfect.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is 𝗛𝗆𝗍𝗀. I'm part of the QuillAudits growth and strategy team, which is a smart contract auditing and solutions for blockchain projects by 𝗃𝗲𝗿𝗀 Technologies. So today we have with us Mr. Rohas Nagpal sir, who is a the top blockchain influencer in India, and he has also led many various initiatives like be it HyFi blockchain, the world's first hybrid finance blockchain, which is also the topic of today's live stream. And secondly, he has also launched different products, like basically how can we use blockchain in marketing, especially in FMCG, like how companies can track their products on the blockchain. So today we will be specifically discussing on the HyFi blockchain and with Mr. Rohas sir, and he will be guiding towards us. If you have any questions, you can please ask your questions in the section, comment section available below, and we would be picking up questions from there and asking directly to Rohas sir. So welcome sir, welcome to the live stream session.
My pleasure.
So the first question I would like to ask you for the HyFi blockchain is like, can you just elaborate or explain for the layman terms, like what specifically is HyFi blockchain and how is this the differentiating factor among the various other blockchains that are available in the market?
Sure. So the most popular concept is the concept of public blockchains, where anybody can take a node, anybody can create an address and do transactions. So let's just take a classic example of Bitcoin. Anybody can create unlimited Bitcoin accounts. They can mine Bitcoin. They can run nodes. You don't need anyone's permission. Another example could be Ethereum, DOT, Tron. All these are public blockchains. Now, while they are very easy to use, the biggest problem that they have is there is no concept of KYC, which is know your customer, or anti-money laundering, or controlling the financing of terrorism. Now, this is okay as long as you're talking about decentralized finance. But the moment you want the centralized and the regulated entities to come, like if we actually want blockchain to grow and we want all the banks in the world to start using it, for them, the biggest issue is the absence of KYC, AML, and CFT in the conventional blockchains. Now, for that, one solution which is used is what we call as the federated or the private blockchains. So a group of banks comes together and they run a blockchain only amongst themselves. But again, that has a very limited functionality. So at HyFi blockchain, we are hybrid finance blockchain. So we are trying to connect both these worlds, the worlds of the centralized banking and regulated entities along with blockchain. So on the HyFi blockchain, anybody can run a node after they have been verified. So when there is a proper KYC check done, then a person can start becoming and managing a node. If anybody wants to open an account on HyFi blockchain, it has to come through their bank. So the bank already does the KYC, and on all the transactions after that, bank is taking care of the anti-money laundering checks, and only then they can use the blockchain. So HyFi blockchain is connecting the world of public blockchains and the private blockchain. That's what our vision is.
Okay, yeah. So basically, like as you said, we also read in the HyFi blockchain is basically a public blockchain operated by verified entities.
Right.
So that basically means that it's a overall blockchain structure for the banks mostly and the central governments, because we often come across people are just not trusting the government regarding their money, and the governments are cracking heavily on the cryptocurrencies. Like we take the case of China, where we just saw the market has gone very badly down, or be it India. So, is it a somewhat kind of a medium way to keep both the parties happy, be it the government and the people, or just keep them together? Then let's proceed further with that, or
Sure.
is it some kind of separate approach?
Actually, you're quite right. That is also a very good idea that you have said. See, our basic objective is wrapping of assets. So we want to bring all the world's assets to the blockchain. So suppose somebody wants to buy one small piece of a building in Dubai because he feels Dubai real estate is a good investment. He should be able to do that through the blockchain. So that entire real estate can be wrapped and put on the blockchain. Now, since you specifically talked about money, let me give you an idea. So what we believe that today the stable coin industry, we are having stable coins against dollar, euro. Now somebody has also started stable coin against the Chilean peso. But the problem in the approach today is private small startups are running these stable coins. So there is always a very big question. Are they actually maintaining proper balances? Suppose tomorrow they just run away with the money. So Tether regularly comes under these kinds of, scrutiny, saying that are they actually keeping all this $50-60 billion with them while they are issuing stable coins? We believe the best option is if the banks start to issue stable coins. And that is one of the main projects that we are trying to enable, bank operated fiat-backed stable coins, so that the government also does not have a problem, because the government trusts the banks because the banks are regulated. We trust the banks because the banks have been around for a long time and they are known to keep your money safe. Now imagine if banks issue the stable coin, it benefits the crypto community in a very big way. So that is one of our very important use cases.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for the answer. The next question we usually have in the related to the HyFi blockchain is how does HyFi handle transaction fees? Is this solution to Ethereum's high transaction fees, or is this a better a solution, or what specifically can we say? Also, adding to this question, how do you plan how does the HyFi blockchain plans to earn a specific amount of money, because you need it for the overall management of the infrastructure?
Sure, that's an excellent question. So firstly, there is no concept of transaction fee or gas fee on HyFi, because we realize that is one of the biggest problems. Like if you look at Ethereum, when Ethereum was new, sorry, the ETH value was low and transaction fee was very low. But as it became popular, the price of ETH keeps going up so much that it becomes infeasible for people to run use cases on it. So in fact, earlier this year, when the Ethereum prices had peaked, a lot of startups just stopped their project, saying it is no longer feasible for us. So I believe this is a problem which all public blockchains will face in due time. When they become popular, they become too expensive. So in HyFi, technologically, there is no fundamental crypto, which means transaction fee can never be there. So even if we want tomorrow, we cannot put transaction fee because it has no native crypto. Having said that, obviously we need a revenue model, otherwise it will not last. So what we are doing is we are following the approach of the conventional world. Like today, when you go to stock markets and you buy and sell, you don't have to pay as a broker transaction fee every time you buy and sell. Similarly, on HyFi, anybody issuing an asset pays a one-time issuance fee. And after that, we do not charge them on transactions, because anyway, the transactions are not costing anything, because we are not doing the typical proof of work. So no miner is spending a lot of computational power and electricity to validate transactions. We are using a round robin kind of a method. So the electricity cost is almost zero. And that's the reason, even though we have zero transaction fee, we have a strong revenue model by way of the asset issuance fees.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the answer. That was very informative, and most of the people would have asked us this, what's the overall revenue model for the HyFi blockchain? Sure. Yeah. So moving on, our next question from the community is how does it cope up with the slow transaction speeds? Basically, excellent. You said, you definitely don't need a transaction fees and that kind of model that public blockchains have, but still there would be an issue for the transaction. So how would you just deal with that?
So currently we are able to do 1200 transactions per second, and I think that's a huge amount, because we are not getting into the typical kind of use cases which require a huge number of throughput. The kind of use cases we are functioning on, we feel that 1200 TPS is more than sufficient for what we need as of right now. I mean, if you compare this to a 7 or 8 transaction per second in some of the popular blockchains, 1200 transactions per second is more than enough. So we are quite happy with that part.
Yeah. Okay. So next question is you said it supports 100% KYC and AML procedures. So can you just throw some light on that, sure, especially in the layman terms?
Sure. So what happens is, when we look at the typical blockchains, anybody can go and click a button and create an address and start using. Nobody knows who that person is. But on HyFi, it is not like that. Some random person cannot go and create an address. So in stage 1, we are allowing people to only come through their banks. So when one bank ties up with us, and then the bank brings all its customers, the bank creates their addresses and gives it to them. All that we know is that, okay, these 20,000 people have come from so-and-so bank. We don't know their identity. Tomorrow, if there is a dispute, or the regulator says, there has been a contravention, at that time the bank will have to say who was the customer behind the address. Now, because all the banks in the world already have very strong KYC processes in place, we don't see the point of trying to replicate. So by using the KYC already done by the banks, we are making sure only verified entities are able to use our platform. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So basically, like, you are just trying to just preserve the, like, and just safeguard the money launderers, and not safeguard, but actually safeguard the public interest, because
That's
we
correct.
often blockchain comes to the scrutiny under for the same thing.
That is absolutely correct. That is
Okay.
absolutely
Great. Next question, like, how will you wrap tokens on the HyFi blockchain network? Like,
sure.
basically, how does the commodities over the network will work?
Excellent question. So now let's take an example. Let us say the tea industry wants to issue its own commodity coin for the tea sector. So there are farmers who are growing tea, then there are factories who are holding tea. Now today what happens is, let's say that I'm a large tea estate. Now I may be having millions of dollars of tea in my godown, but I need cash against it, let's say for a temporary period. Now today the only option available to me is I have to take a loan against my tea holding, but there will be a huge interest component. Now what can happen is that tea estate, against the backing of the tea they are having, they can issue a coin on HyFi. That is backed 1-to-1 by the tea. So let us say that we are saying for every 1 kg of tea, we are having one coin. Now, because you are holding the tea, the coin has value. It is not like just out of thin air. It is backed by the tea. And people around the world who want to speculate on the price of tea, suppose I feel tea price is 10 and it will become 15. I can buy the tea coin, and if the tea price goes up, my value of my coin goes up. So we want to allow the common person to be able to benefit from the tea industry movement of prices, and we want to enable the tea industry, for example, to generate cash flow without having to pay interest. So now, like this for tea, we can do the same thing for coffee, agricultural products, rubber, wool, all the commodities in the world, including metals, industrial metals, precious metals, all of them can also use the platform. So commodities is one of a very important use cases for us also.
Yeah, there's definitely an interesting use case for the industry-wide blockchain use. Also, coming to your previous question, like you said, it's basically a solution for brands and the KYC and AML solutions. If suppose, like, that may not be directly linked question to this, but I guess that's a definitely interesting thing. Suppose, let's hypothetically speaking, if a bank is interested in the HyFi blockchain solution, and if the customers are just tried to use the solution, so how would the process go on in the back end? Because just like the bank comes to the HyFi blockchain and okay, we want to use the technology. So how would the back end process would go on this? Can you just elaborate on them a bit?
Sure. So what happens is, once the bank tells us that they are interested in this, so first step, we give them access to our testnet. So that has been on for quite some time now. Lots of startups, banks and other people are testing it out. So one very good thing in our approach is that we are not forcing the developers to learn a new language. Our blockchain totally is controlled by API. So that means if your bank already has a mobile app, which almost every bank in the world has, you can simply integrate the HyFi API into your existing app and immediately allow that service to be available to your customers. You do not have to create anything new. So if you are already having an app, one fine day the customer can see a new tab there, click on it and start buying and selling all these various cryptos and wrapped assets, because you are able to integrate using API. So first step, the bank checks out the backend testnet. Then their developers undergo a training program to understand how to integrate. Then the bank will integrate and then they can go live with it. It's a quite simple process, doesn't usually take more than a week's time.
Okay, yeah. So moving on to our next question would be, can we build dApps on the HyFi blockchain network, and will it be open to more and more parties involved? Let's say, are you planning to scale it and move it forward for just not for the banks, but more of the people or the overall larger community?
Absolutely. So even today, we are not stopping anybody. It's because we don't want to replicate KYC, because that is not practical.
Yeah.
There are billion plus people in the world and already KYC. So we have already opened up our platform to various startups to build solutions on it. The only place where we are restricting is that new customers as of right now have to come through a bank. But startups, there is no restriction. They can build solutions, and we are very happy that many startups are looking at building solutions on HyFi.
Okay, that's an insightful question. answer. Moving on to the next question is HyFi blockchain a way for governments and people to keep up with each other and establish trust?
Absolutely, definitely. So when we look at the government, what is the government worried about? See, the government is worried about, are criminals misusing blockchains today? And in the world of typical cryptocurrencies, yes, that is happening all the time. So because we are trying to make KYC, AML and CFT such an integral part, we are very confident that the governments will be happy with this solution. And in fact, here I want to add something. We have gone the approach by incorporating in Wyoming state of the US. And I will explain the background and the reason for this. So Wyoming is a state in the United States of America where they have come out with very innovative laws around blockchain and crypto. In fact, you will be surprised to know that the government of Wyoming has given millions of dollars grant to the university there and told them to stake cryptocurrencies. So that is the kind of positive approach that they have taken. Now, under the laws of Wyoming, you can incorporate and register something called an open blockchain token. So our currency or our crypto, so to say, which is called WRAP, WRAP, which today in fact is the official launch of that, 15th August. So WRAP is now registered as an open blockchain token. So that tomorrow if the government of India even bans all the cryptos, that will not impact WRAP because we are now properly registered as an open blockchain token under the laws of Wyoming. So everything that we are doing is with the point of view that the regulators, governments should be very, very positive about our solution.
Okay, like coming to our next question is like it's directly related to the same question. When do you see the demand for the HyFi blockchain growing, and specifically from the Indian perspective?
Sure.
Would you feel like the governments and the banks would be accepting it as a solution and would be comfortable in using it at a larger scale that impacts a larger population, not just a handful of segment?
Sure. So the way I look at it is for India, I would say the best use case would be the agricultural products because as we know, agriculture is a massive industry in our country and 70% of our country's population is involved in that sector. So I believe that if we are able to promote and everybody in the agricultural sector moves on to it, that will be hugely beneficial. And I think that is something we can easily achieve within the next 1 to 3 years. Other than the concept, other than agricultural products, commodities again is a very good use case for countries like India because we are producing such kind of commodities in huge numbers. And we are also looking at the stablecoin market. So we believe that there are at least 25 currencies which will benefit by being available as stablecoins. So today it is primarily the US dollar, the euro, and very few. But we believe at least 25 of the world's top crypto currencies can be available as stablecoins. So these are the 3 areas that we are really looking towards progressing.
Okay. Next question would be how can HyFi blockchain involves people's life? Taking the point it just outlaws every criminal and trying to hack on a network and launder money and to do the very KYC AML solutions you just talked about. But it would be talking from a global scale or maybe just on a national level. How is it affecting the population? How can the more people benefit from this solution?
Definitely. So like I said, one is agriculture. Now, agriculture means 70% of India is in agriculture business. So if they can start to benefit by using this, then automatically we can say 70% of India's population is benefiting from HyFi. So that's what I'm trying to say. So then we look at stable coins. Another chunk of India's population comes in. We look at loyalty programs. We look at commodities. So almost everything that we are doing ultimately will impact and benefit the common man. Because ultimately as the common man, we are doing all this. We are consuming agricultural products. We want to invest and make money from these also. So all those kinds of solutions are available. So I believe almost everything we are doing will ultimately impact and benefit the common man.
Okay, so deriving from this question we just had a discussion, is HyFi blockchain based on the scalable technology?
Sure, very good question. So what we have done is we have taken the multi-chain framework. So I'll give you a little background. So multi-chain is an open source framework which is built on top of the Bitcoin core. So what multi-chain has done is they have taken the Bitcoin core and put an API layer on top to enable the creation of a very scalable blockchain. And we have adopted the multi-chain technology. We have not developed our own technology because I don't see the point. There are already 30 plus very good blockchain solutions in the world. So first step, I did a very detailed analysis of all these different blockchains and came to the conclusion that for what we are doing, multi-chain was the best fit. And yes, it is a very scalable, and like I said, it is built on Bitcoin core. And let's be honest, which is the one blockchain in the world which has been tested the most? It is Bitcoin, right? It's been around. It's the first. Maximum number of attacks have taken place on it. It has been tested by the world very well. So we are very comfortable with the multi-chain framework.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
All right, Arnim, I had a question.
Sure.
So, so you just have talked about the multi-chain framework. So I was studying about the consensus model of like how it works by mining diversity. So I want to know like about that,
Sure.
how implemented in the HyFi.
Absolutely, I will explain to you. Now, let's take the example of a typical proof of work. So let's take Bitcoin. Now, there are thousands of people who are miners, and each of them tries to mine a block because they are going to get paid for it. So, I mean, today, with the value of Bitcoin so high, you get crores of rupees per block as a mining fee. And that is why there is a regular competition. And that is why the computational power and electricity cost is so high. Now, what happens in HyFi is, because all the nodes are verified, and there is no concept of a mining fee being given to anybody, the mining happens in a round robin fashion. So let's say there are 5 nodes. So the first block will be mined by the first node, second by the second, third by the third. Now suppose the 4th node is down, immediately the system goes to the 5th person. Now you may ask that why will anybody run a node if they are not getting paid for it? So when we look at banks, commodity exchanges and other people, for them their business is banking. Their business is commodity exchanges. Their business is not mining. So they will run the nodes because it is facilitating and supporting their stable coins or their wrapped assets. So miners are not getting paid. It is part of their business that they are running the validation. And we are using this round robin method. So it makes it very, very low energy consumption. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, that perfectly answered my question. One more thing that I want to discuss, like as you just said that there won't be any mining fee. So as we know that mining somehow integrates kind of security mechanism as well, right?
Sure.
Like considering proof of work mechanism, the mining the blockchain provides a security mechanism in the blockchain. So like how HyFi is different and how the mining is integrating security as we are not getting any mining fee.
Sure. So what we must remember that ultimately what is the purpose of a blockchain? What is special in blockchain versus a regular conventional database? Now, when we look at blockchains, everybody has a private key corresponding to their address. They are holding the assets, and then only if you sign a transaction with your private key, then the crypto or the currency can actually move to somebody else. Secondly, hash functions are an integral part to ensure the integrity. Now, all of that remains the same. Ultimately, like I said, HyFi is ultimately built on top of the Bitcoin core. So all those things are there. The only thing which is different is that where in a public network like Bitcoin, we have competitive mining. In our scenario, we have collaborative mining. And every miner is known to each other. So for example, a bank is running a set of validation nodes. Now, there is no reason that a proper regulated bank is ever going to try to commit a fraud there or try to launch an attack against the system. Because we have gone with that approach that only verified, regulated and credible entities are running nodes, we are not worried about things like 51% attacks. I hope that answers your question. But having said that, the private keys, the digital signatures, the hash functions, none of that changes. The only difference is instead of competitive mining, you have collaborative mining.
All right, got the point. And that is a very interesting mechanism to prevent attacks and kind of integrate security. And I was also reading about this model. And so is it like if the miner has blocked one of the previous spacing -1 block, then it won't be allowed to mine the next block. Is it kind of something like that?
It is something like that. So it is a round robin system. So if at all, suppose there is only one node, then obviously that one node would have to mine all blocks, but that's a situation we will never let happen. As long as there is more than one node, the same node cannot do multiple mining of the blocks. It goes one by one. It's a round robin and everybody gets a chance to mine the node, to mine the block.
Yeah, that's a very good solution, and that kind of interestingly creates its own mechanism of security. Right. So, Anim, you can ask
Yeah.
your own other questions and go on.
Yeah. So like let's proceed forward. First, let's check if there are any questions from the community members for the speaker.
Yeah, Paras has said that yes, this could really make
Yeah.
huge cash flow in agriculture business.
Thank you, Paras.
Yeah. So moving to the next question is, how can like you said the blockchain would be using 12 transactions per second. So that's
1200 transactions per second.
Sorry, 1200 transactions. So that's a significant amount of transactions that blockchain can solve in a per second. But let's say like if the the demand has been increased for the blockchain and the transaction speeds are feeling like okay, it's time to move on. So how do you like cope up with the slow transaction fees on the network? Because
So,
taking
please.
from the Ethereum point of view or maybe like definitely it's not the same thing we are comparing with the HyFi blockchain, but like just a normal question that would derive at this point would be
sure. So the way I look
sorry to interrupt. So I just want to ask this question, as Ethereum has just EIP 1559, where they are just burning the base fees, and they've introduced concept of tips. So kind of like some people are saying that Ethereum will be a decreasing value of money after some time. Like it will go into deflation as the base fees are burning constantly, and some are saying okay, no, going to inflation. So I just want to compare side the base fee model of just integrated Ethereum and the HyFi blockchain. So
Sure.
yeah, what's your views on that?
Sure. So now one very important thing to remember is that the use cases are totally different. Where Ethereum is first of all a smart contract platform. So one of the main things in Ethereum is that you can write and process smart contracts, and which is where actually the concept of gas fee comes in. And then you have people exchanging assets, which is where you have transaction fee coming in. Now, because Ethereum is decentralized completely, and they do not want the concept of KYC and other things coming in, doesn't matter to them. HyFi, on the other hand, is only looking at regulated use cases, where every address has KYC AML checks happening. So I can't really compare the two. And secondly, Ethereum has a native token or a currency called ETH. And without that, you cannot do anything on Ethereum. HyFi is not like that at all. So although we have created the wrap token, the open blockchain token, it is not needed to run transactions. It is needed when you are paying fees for creating an asset. So let's say I am a very large real estate developer and I want to tokenize a building of mine and put it on the HyFi blockchain. The one-time issuance fee that I have to pay for that is what I'm going to pay using wrap. But once that's paid, every time that my customers buy and sell the token relating to my building, there is no transaction fee payable. So we don't need to worry so much about the tokenomics of wrap as far as HyFi is concerned. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and I think it's definitely better than the Ethereum's current model. So definitely
very different.
yes.
I mean, I can't say better or worse because I'm a big fan of Ethereum also. It's different. We have very different use cases.
This use case is a kind of a better idea. Yep. So another thing that I want to ask, like as you have mentioned that it kind of gives solution to the problems that DeFi and CeFi are facing, central finance, at least finance. So we are facing a lot of scams and rug pulls in DeFi. So like HyFi kind of propose any solution to that, or is there anything new? Yep.
Excellent question. So when we wrap any asset, legal documents are a very important part. Like, let me give you an idea about NFT. So actually, most of what is happening in the name of NFT today is not the way it is supposed to happen. When I am simply buying a digital image, I don't get any rights with it. What is very important for us to remember that the concept of NFT always was that when you purchase it, you are getting some legal rights to use it. Like for example, if I am paying a cricketer a huge amount of money, I am now allowed to use that cricketer's name, get him into my ads and make advertisements out of it. So there is a proper legal agreement which happens. But that is not happening in NFTs. When I'm buying a piece of art, I'm not actually getting any copyright with it. On HyFi, let's say an artist puts the art down. When that NFT is selling, the artist is giving you a legally valid license. And now when you buy the NFT, you can actually sell reprints of that art and make profits. So I'll give you a simple example. I'm an author. So I've written several books in my life. Now books can be translated into multiple languages. And what I can do on HyFi as an author, I can come there and say, okay, I have written this book in English. Now if anybody wants, they can buy this NFT of mine, which enables you as the buyer to translate my book into Spanish, sell it and make a profit. Another person, I can sell it to translate into Chinese, make a profit, Hindi, make a profit. So we are looking at such kind of use cases where legal agreements are a part of it. Now, because all the legal agreements will be there, we are introducing the concept of banks verifying people. We are bringing in custodians, regulated entities who are actually holding the assets. We hope that there will not be any scams on HyFi. Having said that, scammers are always there. Some scams will definitely take place in the long run, but we will ensure, or we are working our best, that nothing like this really happens.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So, Arnim, you can continue.
Yeah.
There are more questions, right? Yep.
Yeah. So that's a definitely interesting insights of the blockchain and HyFi industry. Also, coming same question which Tejas asked is, you said like we also admit that we failed to to see the real world practical use case for the NFTs, as you also mentioned. So, and the opportunities that NFT creators and artists can get on the HyFi blockchain network. So, would it be wise to say that HyFi blockchain is like the better or the competitors for the another blockchains, because you are actually getting the legal rights, and I don't have to worry about let's say I'm going to OpenSea or any other platform and just closes down. I'm left with nothing. So it's like a better alternative and for the community to move on to.
I would definitely say that. So if your use cases are relating to wrapped assets, then HyFi would be the best alternative. If you are looking at things like yield farming and staking and all that, then obviously you would pick different blockchains. But as far as these kind of legal use cases are concerned, yes, we are the world's first hybrid finance blockchain, although I very strongly hope that other people also set up such kind of blockchains, because then only the ecosystem will develop. It is not like one single blockchain can be used forever. We need solutions and alternatives. And in due time, these various alternatives will also talk to each other. But yes, as of right now, we are the first.
Okay. Next question would be like, how did the idea of HyFi blockchain came into origination? Like, what was the story behind it? How did you come to think about like, okay, let's create a solution like this?
Sure. So actually my interest in blockchain started way back in about 2010, 2011. At that time, I was a cyber investigator and I was helping one of the law enforcement agencies investigate how drug mafia is using Bitcoin at that time. But then later, as I started to research more into it, what I realized was that blockchain is the first piece of technology in the world that allows smart asset lifecycle management to happen on its own without the need for intermediaries. So basically, you could put an asset on a blockchain and for the rest of its life, nobody needs to interfere. It can take care of itself because everybody is using their private keys to sign transactions. There is no need for reconciliation to happen. And ever since we started to build various blockchain solutions, when Prime Chain was initially created in 2016, wrapped assets has always been my number one priority because I believe that is the best use case. I am not a big fan of use cases which involve a lot of data. Like many people do use cases of blockchain where you're doing identity on it. But I believe when you try to put data onto the blockchain, it is going to fail because blockchain is not meant for that. It is not practical to put data across hundreds of nodes. So I believe smart assets are the only good use case for blockchain. And in that, I would say making things like land, intellectual property available on a blockchain makes it very easy for the global audience to buy and sell things. Like today, let's take a simple example. Let's say I really like a movie. How is it that I can be a part of the monetization of that movie? So today what can happen is somebody who's making a movie, a new director, they can tell the world that if you invest in my movie right now, I will give you part of the copyright. And whatever money is made from that movie in your country, that money part will go to you. That is not possible unless we bring in systems like blockchain to make it easy for people to buy and sell such tokens. So that is the thinking that has actually gone behind it.
Okay.
Right. So I do just mention that yes, it's not a good idea to put sensitive data on the blockchain, and that's where I want to like picturize those GDPR rules in Europe and all, like how they can affect the blockchain.
Sure.
Kind of
So
like a different question from the topic that we are discussing on, but interesting to ask.
sure. So when we look at the data privacy laws, it's very difficult for a blockchain to actually handle it, because on the blockchain you cannot delete things. So in the conventional world, a person can always say, please remove my information, and the technology provider can. But how do you do that in a blockchain? You cannot delete. So our approach is a little different, where when a person is onboarded on our blockchain, we don't know his identity. We don't know who he or she is. We only know an address. Who knows the identity is the bank which has onboarded that customer. So there is no worry on our part that somebody could get your data from our blockchain, because we don't even know who you are. It is only when tomorrow there is a dispute and there is a problem and the regulator wants to know who is this person, at that time the bank can directly inform the regulator that this is the identity of the person behind the address, and proper regulatory things can be done. We don't even come into that picture. So that's the approach we have taken, and that is not something which is possible in other blockchains, because in other blockchains sometimes they know who you are. So in a perfectly public blockchain, nobody knows anybody. But in other blockchains, you are expected to do your own KYC, where you upload your identity documents, passport. Now that's a very big problem, because all that data is lying with the entity running the blockchain. If tomorrow there is a hack, that data could be leaked out and that entity gets into big legal trouble. We are not holding any of this data. So we do not foresee any problem with the regulators for data privacy.
Right. The blockchains are currently struggling with this problem.
Right.
So yep. Moving on to, I've read a very nice line that HyFi introduces an unprecedented level of transparency. So like I want to know about that.
Sure. So one of the things that we are doing is, you will be able to see in real time very soon who all are actually owning the HyFi blockchain. So ultimately HyFi blockchain is also, there is a company which manages its work. You will even be able to see who are the shareholders of that company in real time, so that you can see, okay, these are the people running it. Now that is something you will not find anywhere. I mean, if you look at any of the other blockchains, we don't even know who are the people behind it. In fact, most of them are very happy to say that they are anonymous. But I believe that is not the way in the long run. Like if you look at what has happened to the Poly network, which just got hacked, this anonymity is going to prevent blockchains from really growing. Because come on, it is a question of people's hard-earned money. You cannot trust your money to a system which is run by anonymous people. So we want to bring in a system where you know who is running a node. Like today, if I ask you who is running all the Bitcoin nodes, Ethereum nodes, nobody can answer that question. We will be able to tell you at any given point of time, each and every node, who runs it, who is that legal entity or person running it, as well as who is the person running HyFi. So we want to bring in complete 100% transparency, which is ultimately what blockchains are supposed to be, completely transparent.
Right. That answers my question. So Arnim, go on. You can ask other questions.
Yeah. Also coming to the previous part, we had just said you would be very open to opening a blockchain for the more startups, and people would like, if they are able, welcoming to develop on the HyFi blockchain. That makes me ask a question, is like, what kind of products? Just a bit off topic. What kind of products would you like to see, or do you expect on the HyFi blockchain to develop? Be it especially with the fintech or the Indian target.
Sure. So like if you look at use cases, so one is, of course, we would love to see more marketplaces developing where it makes it easy for people to buy and sell wrapped assets. Analytics would be another very important thing, because as of today, there is no real data on what kind of assets are being bought and sold on blockchain. There's a lot of lack of that data. So analytics, which would show us, how property prices are being impacted, art, real estate, loyalty, so many use cases are there. So I would say one would be marketplaces, second would be analytics, and three would be, of course, apps, which are wallets. So that, different people can choose which wallet they want to use to interact with the HyFi blockchain. And we also want to see interoperability, where we are, in fact, you may be happy to hear this, that our wrap token is not only restricted to HyFi blockchain. We are totally supporting 10 blockchains, which includes Ethereum, includes HyFi, and we want to see more interoperability happening between them, where it should be possible that using the wrapped asset project, I am investing in a movie through Ethereum, but gold through Polkadot, and building or real estate through HyFi. So that is the kind of future that we are looking at, because we believe that public blockchains also have a lot of benefits, and we want to see more of an interoperability happening.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of best wishes from us Fire project.
Thank you so much.
Yep. So yep, Arnab, go on.
Yeah. Next question would be like, another question would be is what are you really let's say HyFi blockchain is built on a scalable model, and if you can it is very open for the general public. What could be the fintech point of view in that, like, because cryptocurrency is mostly famous for like cryptocurrency, basically Bitcoin and other is basically use of fintech only, because that's bring it to the concept of DeFi in that. So other than wallet or another solutions, what could be the possible solutions you are expecting or just seeing in the coming future to people to develop on?
Sure. So one would be definitely things like, how do you raise funding against cryptos? So today we see that when people are lending and borrowing crypto, what are they doing with it? They are lending and borrowing simply to invest more into crypto and make a profit out of it. But I feel that's a very small approach. When we look at the entire banking sector of the world, why does a bank lend you money? So that you can do a business, generate employment and profits, and then pay interest out of it. I want to bring that same concept here. If somebody is in the business of growing and selling tea, that person should be able to raise funding against the tea that they are holding at the bare minimum interest or maybe zero interest, enabling other people to benefit from the price fluctuation of tea, but allowing the tea grower to raise this funding and maybe make more tea, sell it in a better way, export it to more countries, and thereby I want to grow these ecosystems. I do not want people to only think I should lend my crypto to somebody who's going to do more crypto speculation. No, let's start thinking about solid use cases. Let's try to help the farmers raise funding. Let's try to make their lives easier so that all of us benefit by lower price of agricultural products. So that's the kind of vision that we have. We want to enable lots and lots of industries to start running their businesses on the blockchain by using the various cryptos that we can create for them. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So that's basically a closing note would be like, it's a better solution to the like solving real world problems of people, that problem that impacts millions of lives, and not just, as you just said, like speculate on the price of crypto, earn a profit, and then that's again earning a profit. So that's a very limited scope of the actual pie of the whole scenario. So HyFi would be like solving actual people's problem, actual world problem.
Correct. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. Last question I would like to ask is like, as you talked about interoperability of the HyFi blockchain, you currently suppose 10 of the available platforms. Would it be correct to say like HyFi blockchain is the better version of the competitor of Polygon blockchain, because that's things that revolves around the Ethereum, like interoperability and how they can talk to each other. And
no, I wouldn't say that. So what Polygon is doing is totally different. So that's an L2 solution. We are not doing that at all. So in fact, we could use a Polygon also tomorrow. We could support that. So what we are trying to do is to be that wrapped asset layer. That layer where the legal documents and everything comes together, and then there is the blockchain below it. So when we look at these blockchains, you see a HyFi, Ethereum. Tomorrow you could see a Matic blockchain. If it Matic has its own blockchain, that can also come here. So we are not a competitor to Polygon at all. In fact, we could use that in the future. Our job is to wrap the world's assets and bring it to the world's famous popular blockchains. So whichever blockchains are popular, wrapped assets should be available on them. So we are that wrapping layer.
Yeah. So let's check for the community questions if we have any.
All right, sir. So these were the questions that we thought would be good to ask you. So is there anything like that you want to present and that we don't know yet about HyFi?
Well, I'd like to request startups who want to build innovative solutions to get in touch with us. I'd like to request banks, commodity exchanges, agricultural industry people to start to explore how we can use blockchain to solve a lot of the problems. That's all I'd like to say.
Yes, definitely. I would love to see more and more developers joining hybrid finance and bringing solutions to existing problems, because there are many, and the other blockchains are limited to the scope, and they are not very feasible to some of the problems. And I can see a lot of scope in a HyFi, and there are many new features and many interesting mechanisms that provide new ways for the developers to bring more and more products into the market.
Thank you so much.
So, yep. So we'll wait questions from audience. So if anyone is having any questions, please put them in the box. Arnim, do you have any other questions, or are we done with the questions? Yeah, so there were too many questions for you. But yeah, it was a very interesting session, and I really want to, and we all really want to learn more about HyFi, because we the first thing, like I remember, like a long time back, I saw the mind map that you have created for the HyFi, and
Okay.
I've seen many cool features in that. Okay, this is built on multi-chain. Okay, and they are 100% KYC and AML compliance. I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's an interesting thing. And like onto the blockchain, yep, that's a very cool new thing. So that's where we generated interest, and I hope there will be a lot more people like me who want to like build on HyFi.
Looking forward to that.
Yep. So I think we are done with the questions, right, Arnim?
Yeah, right.
All right. So thank you so much for taking your time and explaining things about HyFi, and it was very insightful, and we love this session, and definitely we'll connect back again, and definitely we'll look forward to learn more and more from you and your projects, because there I can see there are more and more projects coming from your side. There is Prime Chain as well. Right, sir?
So Prime Chain is now merged into the Wrapped Asset project. We have merged Prime Chain.
Yep. So Prime Chain is now merged, and there is a Wrapped token project. So we'll be learning more about Wrapped token as well in our future sessions, and we'll see how tokens will be useful in other blockchains and interoperability. So thank you for giving us your time, sir, and it was very insightful, and thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So with that, I think we can wrap up our session. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you for the interview. Have a good
My pleasure. My pleasure. Bye.
Bye, sir.